toxic for the environment, salt is a rich resource for nearby populations. These colored holes that are scattered on the sand are salt wells. The salty waters of the river and its many branches, which are called bolongs here, infiltrates through capillaries into these holes. The sun does the rest. In a lot of villages close to the mangroves, it's women who exploit the wells. Each one manages several. The more salty are the waters of the rivers and the bolongs, the more productive are the wells. The salt is harvested when all the water has evaporated and all that is left is a thick crust at the bottom of the well.
Collecting salt is a hard job. I inherited this from my grandmother, and that's how it goes. Nowadays, it's hotter and hotter in the wells, and there's more and more salinity.
Salt corrodes the skin, aggravates the slightest cut, and attacks the mucous membranes. Crabs that venture into this aggressive environment don't survive. All that remains of these foolish fiddler crabs are petrified bodies. The color of each well depends on the presence of microscopic algae. Each species of algae has a different colored pigment and develops in the concentration of salt appropriate to it. The harvested salt is sold for domestic and agricultural use. Beside the sea, it is used to preserve fishing catches. Many farms, like rice paddies, have been wiped out by the excess of salt. To try to remedy this, the state has launched a vast desalinization program.
We've built a large number of structures to try and desalinate the rice paddies, which have accumulated very high salinity over the past years. Rice paddies which were in fact put in place in the mangrove zone. But most of these structures, large and small dams, haven't worked.
On the branches of the river in which salinity is very high, dams have only made the problem worse. The ocean, the water of which is less salty than the bolongs, can no longer submerge the bolongs at high tide. As a result, the level of salt continues to increase, the land becomes acid, and all forms of life are destroyed. Poisoned fish come to die along the walls of the dams. Vultures take charge of the cleaning by removing the corpses. Of all African birds, this unloved species has known the most spectacular declines, except along the banks of the Saloum and the Casamance, where the mass of dead fish is enough to feed a stable population. In zones saturated with salt and poor in oxygen, life proves to be astonishingly resilient. Kerry Diouf is an ichthyologist, a specialist of the study of fish. Periodically, she takes an inventory of the species present.
65, 70. There we have a salinity of 70 grams per litre, which is twice the salinity of seawater, and yet there's life.
Fish belonging to the tilapia family have been able to adapt to severe conditions that most other species couldn't survive.
Here we have two adults from the same species that were caught in the same stream kilometers apart. The largest was caught 3 kilometers downstream and the other one was caught here, where we're now. And so you can see the effect of salt on the same species.
To survive, the tilapia use a large amount of their energy to neutralize the salt. Their growth suffers. In these extremely salty waters where food is rare, another species has resolved the problem quite differently. The Periop is a funny kind of fish. It periodically leaves its natural environment to sit on the mud or on a mangrove root. It catches insects and small invertebrates. To lead this double life, this strange creature has multi-use equipment. Its pectoral fins, welded to each other, make it into an all-terrain vehicle that can go anywhere. To breathe when it wanders in the mangrove swamp, its gills serve no purpose, and it breathes through its skin instead. Kadijuf regularly inspects the Periop colonies.
Oh, there's one here. Hassan, we'll try and see if we can catch it from the other side. Oh my, that's hard. That's hard.
Only the hardened and experienced dare to go in the inextricable tangle of the mangrove swamp. The roots of the mangroves are traps for feet and legs. Once away from the highly salted zones, the mangrove swamp swarms with life. Dead leaves, rotting grasses, bark, and other organic matter are consumed by microorganisms, which in their turn are devoured by crustaceans, shellfish, and young fish. The young shelter in the maze of crisscrossed roots that bar access to large predators. Mangrove swamps that disappear are just as many destroyed nurseries. The fish and mollusks pay the price as much as do the dolphins that sit on top of the food chain.
Cut the motor, dolphins.
They've already jumped there, on your left there.
They're magnificent. There's a jump. 2 jumps. 3 jumps.
The Atlantic humpback dolphin lives in the coastal waters and estuaries of the great rivers and streams of West Africa. The fish-filled waters that border the mangroves offer excellent hunting grounds for the dolphins.
They hunt in groups. They especially hunt mullet. They'll go as far as to beach themselves to trap the mullet, and then they come onto the shore to eat them.
Overfishing has led to a big reduction in mullet numbers.
Well, to start with, all this was very rich in everything. It was especially when men started to see all this wealth that the spoiling happened. And they didn't stop in time. They destroyed everything, everything. Before, you could see banks of red carp, of barracuda, sardines, banks and banks of everything.
Manatee also visit the warm waters at the edges of mangrove swamps. These enormous aquatic mammals can weigh more than a ton. Exclusively herbivores, they spend their lives grazing the ocean floor, which is why they are known as sea cows. They are fond of mangrove seedlings. Sonko is the son of a great hunter of manatee, who once killed them for their much appreciated meat. Sometimes I see 1 or 2 coming out. Sometimes I don't see anything. Spotting a tail waving from afar is a rare moment. They're desalinating, drinking fresh water. This tower, standing on the bank of the Casamance River, is one of the best observation posts, because here there is a freshwater spring not too far from the coast, and the manatee come here to drink. Ali, on this photo, that's my father. He was a manatee hunter.
How many manatee were there?
There were quite a lot. There could be more than 200 manatee.
200 manatee around him?
Yes.
When he went fishing?
Yes. Ali, these are the weapons my father hunted the manatee with. That's how he raised the harpoons. Then he threw them so as to pierce the manatee.
He seems to have worked a lot.
Yes, he killed too many manatee. It's called Mariam Diagne. My father gave them the names of his women.
Mariam Diani.
This one is Eliasa Touziop, Majigwen Diao. Today, Sonko can see the uncertain future of these peaceful marine mammals, which are on the list of endangered species. Manatee are more and more rare, and in many places, the only ones to be seen are those which are entrapped by mistake in fishing nets.